Good morning from sacred space at Titania's realm. Off with the pixies as we are most of the time, but not really. The mummet is very grounded here on planet Earth. I have to be to stay relatively sane, you understand? Right, the date is Friday the 2nd of January 2025 and the time is 9:52 a.m. And it's a cloudy, murky day. Rain's forecast, but they said it won't rain till 6 o'clock, but I think they've got that wrong. Looks like it'll come in sooner than that, but I'm just going on my mummety instincts, not on the Weather Bureau, that very often get things wrong. Not necessarily completely wrong, but, you know, like to indulge in the occasional governmental, capital letters, mental fear-mongering from time to time. But it is, there is a big shift in the weather. It's murky and it's grey and it's humid as fuck, so that tells me it will rain later at some stage, possibly in the next hour. So I fed the very large, I keep calling them little, but they're not really little. I fed the scrub turkey. He asked, his bowl was empty, let me know. Fair enough, if your bowl's empty, time to replenish. And I gave him fresh water to drink as well, so they're catered for. And my birdie boys are sitting here feeling a bit verklempt because they like to go in the garden, but I don't like to put them out in the garden if it's murky and grey and it's going to rain, because then I have to rush them in and rush them out, and it's a big deal because I've got to get them each separately and run inside with one and then run inside with the other. So I think it's safer to stay in here for the day, unless the weather improves dramatically, which the sun's shining out there in the west, so it could improve. Maybe not. It's hard to tell, but there's bright light coming in from behind the clouds, so the sun's trying to struggle through the cloudiness and the murkiness of this Friday. Shabbat Shalom this evening to those of you who are Jewish or identify as Jewish or are culturally Jewish or philosophically Jewish, which is pretty much where I'm at. Jewish only philosophically, but by the gods, you know, when there's anti-Semitism running rife, then I remember who and what I am. People of Earth. Anywho, on a happy note, I had a delicious cheesecake that I baked yesterday. Oh, that recipe's not quite right, but anyway, I struggled through it. Had to bake an extra 15 minutes. No, it wasn't. It was extra 30 minutes to what it said in the recipe. So I've made a note in the margins now so that I don't even bother paying heed to the recipe and just cook it for as long as it needs. But it's quite delicious. I did well fighting my way through with a shitty defunct recipe. So it's annoying when that happens, you know, because I bought those books. They were quite expensive. They were put out by the Philadelphia Cheese Company, and well, at least that recipe's flawed. I don't know if all of them are flawed, but that one's definitely very, very flawed. Even didn't have enough, didn't allow for enough biscuits in the biscuit base, so I had to frantically crush more biscuits and throw in more melted butter. I just basically had to make it up as I went along, sort of when I realised that it wasn't right. So that was stress inducing as well. It's why I don't cook or bake very often. I can't stand the level of stress when things aren't quite right. But anyway, I fought my way through. I managed to get the biscuit base done. And, the other thing that was wrong was with the recipe was they said to thicken the cherry juice, reserved cherry juice, with arrowroot, and they said 2 teaspoons. I thought that doesn't seem like enough, but because I'm, a compliant little cook, I obeyed the recipe, and it was too watery and runny. That's not a syrup. It's just going to be juice poured. It's hardly thicken it at all. So I got wild about that and threw in another couple of teaspoons of arrowroot mixed with water and boiled that a bit longer, and sure enough it came bloody good. So again, I had to fight even with that aspect of it. So I feel like writing to the people that published that book and say, this is really shit, and I think I paid $10 for each copy, or I can't remember, I think it was about $10. Anyway, might have been more than that. So I'm annoyed. I was annoyed. I was in a rage all through cooking that cheesecake and getting very stressed, thinking, is it me? Am I getting stupid? Is there something wrong with me? But no, each time I could see quite coherently that it wasn't me at all. The recipe's wrong. The only thing they got right was the cheese part, the cheese component. That seemed to work out perfectly. But it takes much longer to bake than they said it would. So there is that. And also, by the way, the mama tea is lactose intolerant, so I had a fairly large slice of it this morning for breakfast, but it'll probably bite me back every which way, not just with making it with the bad recipe, but the effects of the cheese. Oh, you kind of have to laugh. It's a form of self-harming to bake something that that your body will ultimately eject. But here's the weird thing. I had a whole chili pour over of Philadelphia cheese a couple of days ago, and my body held on to it. Didn't get the unpleasantness of the elimination, in a hurry, to put it delicately. Why is that man down the road standing taking photographs of my house? Is he taking a photograph of my house? He's in a direct line with me. It's a bit odd, isn't it? Probably a developer that'll come and ask me to sell me the house. They often do, and I tell them to naff off because it's housing commission. I'm the WEF playbook shining example. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, I can't really say I'm happy about the way I was screwed over by my own government time and time and time again. And no, I'm not fucking happy. But anyway, I am happy though when the idiots come and say they want to buy my house. And I said, oh really, how much are you offering? And I play them along just for shits and giggles. And then I tell them to come back in 10 years when I'm dead. But I gave myself 10 years last time they came. I was 55, so I gave myself till 65. And here I am, 60 and a half. Counting down to my own doom, people of Earth. I have a feeling though, because I'm a stubborn, ornery old witch, I'm going to live. I might be able to scrape myself along to 70. If I make it to 70, it'll be astonishing. I'm astonished I made it to 60 and a half, to be frank. But, my ancient Icenian queen, my muse, my Bodicea won't let me go. She seems to think there's wars to be fought and people to love and life to be made, and one day eventually love to be made too. It's a bit weird though, because old people doing the wild thing. You have to laugh though. It's because I haven't done it for so long that it seems a bit slippery and slimy and slathering, but that's only because I've never been really loved, and so sex was just like two slugs sliming over it, just that meaningless. So I'd made my decision 10 years, well, 11 years ago now, going on for the 11th year. I made my decision. There won't be any slithering, slathering, sweaty, sordid, soulless sex. So I haven't had sex. I've held it off. We're into the 11th year now. It'll be 11 years in July. Yuck. So I've saved myself. What have I saved myself for? Only to get old and die alone. But you know what? There's honour and courage and nobility in that. Getting old and dying alone rather than with some fucking evil, perverted, fake fop that didn't really love you anyway. Had a lifetime of those. So, on we go. Bodhi wants me to have a real and true love one day. Bodhi says in the spirit realm, and well, she means well, doesn't she? She means well. But in the real 3D reality, my life hasn't panned out like that. Too many envious, treacherous people. That man that took the photo of my house from down the street has a trailer behind his big 4-wheel drive. He's now driving. Where's he go? It's a bit weird, isn't it? Curious to know what they were taking a photo of. Maybe it was just, oh, they've done a U-E and they've gone back up the street. Okay. Maybe it wasn't of my house, but maybe something closer to him. You know, like a bird or a butterfly or something only they could see. Now they're doing another U-turn. What are they doing? They're driving up into their driveway. It's very odd. Why would you park on the street, take a photo down the street, drive down, do a U-turn, drive back, and then drive onto the verge? And park there, although he appears to be reversing. Oh, I see what they're doing. They're reversing the trailer up their driveway. Okay. Well, not my monkey, not my circus, but it was just a bit odd watching them get out and take a photograph. But, you know, don't know what they were taking a photograph of. Could be anything. Mama too takes photographs of lots of things too, and there's no harm in that. It's just strange how they did that and drove into their property. Oh, well, here we are now. We're going to settle down and we're going to read a chapter 22. I'm still looking at my little Pegasuses I made. Pegasi is the correct term for plural Pegasus. Turned out great. I've got to finish polishing them. I was levelling out the backs. Did that 2 days ago. Didn't do any work on them yesterday. I was knackered. But evening out the backs. I need to buy a big polishing, sanding, buffing, polishing machine so that I can do it on that. Be easier, wouldn't it? But those kind of machines cost a lot of bloody money, and so I struggle doing things by hand. And you know what? It's not so bad. It's contemplative and meditative and passes time, and I get tired, but I don't have to get up and go to work. I just go to bed if I'm tired and, get at it, get back at it the next day. So it's all good, people of Earth. I'm very happy. Oh, the other thing I did was the bits I cut out. I flattened it and I'm going to turn it into a moon, but I've got to anneal it a bit. That means heat it to cherry red and soften the silver, and bend it down because it's too wide apart to be a moon. But I'm thinking about turning it into a moon charm, and then I could hang a little chain at the bottom and, I don't know, a little stone or something. I decided to recycle every scrap of silver because it's expensive at the moment, and it doesn't hurt to be creative and recycle. I haven't flattened this one out yet. I'm not sure if it's worth the effort, because they might be a bit, what do you think, people of Earth? They might be a bit skinny to be moons. So they may get scrapped, get melted down if I'm not happy with it. That's the joy of silversmithing, is the scraps. If you're not happy with things turn out, just melt them, make something else. Make another ingot and another thingy like this. Right. Which reminds me, I've got to go down and buy some more oxygen, but I think I might wait till the 6th when I get paid. But then I've got to pay out $300 to Optus that week, so I'll juggle it around. I juggle everything around. It's quite creative how I manage financially. I'm quite proud of myself sometimes. But it's only about $70 unless they've put the gas up. Probably won't be more than $80. But $80 doesn't sound a lot, but it's a lot when you're struggling on your own in a pension. So why am I worrying? Everything comes to me at the appointed time, blessed and protected by the gods from an infinite, loving, benevolent source field of emanation. Yes, I'm provided for, and I'm grateful to the Holy One and all manifestations of goodness, generosity, prosperity, abundance, joy and delight, creativity, the Holy One, without whom I wouldn't even exist as a soul or be in this incarnation. Fuck you, God. He can take that because he knows he's not made it an easy life for me, and he knows, although that's the ultimate in blasphemy, that I mean it with a bit of mischief and laughter, because without God I wouldn't have survived what I've survived so far. And it amuses that energy to see what I do with this life. They keep sending me back here over and over and again, so they must be greatly amused by now. Anyway, here we go. I'll settle down now. Chapter 22. Camulodunum was burning. The storm that had drenched the first moments of attack had passed westward. A freshening breeze had dried the timber of the merchants' houses and the wattle of the craft workers' huts enough to feed the infant flames that lapped at the edges of the city, spewing smoke to the sky. Valerius was in the south, leading the warriors who had chosen to train with him and fight with him. At their head, he faced a line of Roman veterans who had formed inside the brick and mortar barrier, all iron armour and leather with new painted shields and quiet, waiting faces. He smelled the smoke growing in the west long before he could see it. The scent was welcome, but oddly out of place, as if the morning fires of a roundhouse had become bound up in all the iron blood and sweat. Oh, excuse me, and opening bowels. I wonder what caused me to sneeze just now. What's causing the sneezes, Bertie boys? We don't know, Mama T. You're the one that's sneezing. Okay, this is true. You're very quiet today. Am I quiet, Kermie? Kermie? Oh well, they're happy and contented, quiet. There were a great many opening bowels. I better not eat any more of that cheesecake, by the way. I'm fine, but for now. Oh my God, it was delicious. And most of them among the youths, Valerius was shepherding into the attack lines. He had not yet found a way adequately to warn them how much the reality of war against the legions differed from the songs. That without the rites of the long nights and tests of the spear trials, they had no basis for self-belief. That self-belief was what made the difference in the momentary crush and crisis of combat, and the sum of those brutal moments was what won the day or lost it. That, even in the days before Rome's invasion, no one had ever ridden or run into battle without gut-wrenching fear, and that it never left, only lessened a little, so that one could think clearly enough to fight. Flames flickered on the edge of his vision. Turning away, he hailed a skinny, hook-nosed youth who had shown some initiative in training, and sent him forward at the head of a half-troop. He still thought in Roman cavalry terms. He should cure himself of that. To swing round and come in at the far end of the veterans' line. Oh my goodness. Right. The youth was half his age, and one of the many Caradocs. The ceremony to find new names for them and the several dozen Bejaysus had taken a night and a half of the following day, but had been successful in the end. Thus, Knife with the hooked nose ran forward at the head of his dozen warriors and formed them into an arc with surprising efficiency. Warriors, what me worry? A girl newly named Connor held the centre, with Longinus to help her, and Valerius himself was shadowed closely by a youth called Snail on a skewbald mare. What does skewbald mean? Don't know. Skewbald mare. Piebald is the ones that have all the little splotches on them. Skewbald. Have to Google that later and add that in the comments section. Who held, pardon me, cheesecake and tea, who held Valerius's standard and was, in fact, far more able than his choice of name might have suggested. Then why would you call yourself that? Why would you put yourself down like that? What's in a name? Names are very important. Very important. They're your power manifestations, people of Earth. Snail. Signal both wings to drive inward. Valerius shouted it over the din. The standard waved in a clockwise loop, and blessedly, Knife and Connor were both looking and both remembered what to do. Their two half-troops came together tightly, with shields overlapping at the edges and swords held between. At Longinus's command, spears were thrown from behind a ragged volley. None struck living flesh. Amongst the enemy, someone bellowed an order from near Valerius's end of the line, and the veterans swung their shields back down, beginning the moves that would transform their line into a square, as if they had been doing it all their lives, which they had, except for the past 10 years. They were smooth enough, but not as fast as they could have been. Shields angled aside and back into place, rustily. Valerius saw the barest of openings between one man and the next, and hurled the crow horse into it. Screaming, he slashed downwards with his blade, and felt the impact of iron on iron that moved the blood through his veins in a way nothing else could do. Alive with the beginnings of battle fever, he shouted the names of both his gods and saw the youths who had followed him through the breach catch the feeling and grow with it, cutting harder and faster. Even so, they were still young and untested. For every veteran who fell, a handful of warriors died, screaming. The smell of void feces and spilled guts entirely swamped the smells of sweat and blood and smoke. To Valerius's left, the flames took better hold of the city and reached higher. He remembered lying on the hillside watching the veterans cut a fire break within the inner barrier, but could not map in his mind exactly where it was. The fighting was too fierce to think that far beyond it and expect to live. Numbers told over experience, and the veterans' square fell in on itself, broken by the crow horse and the mounted warriors who came after. Another command was barked down the line, and former legionaries broke ranks and ran to their right, setting their backs to a masonry wall. Wheeling left, Valerius sought out the man who was shouting the orders. The youth, Snail, was still in his shadow, still holding aloft the banner of the bull on Mona's grey that had been Valerius's through his time with the Roman cavalry. The boy held it with an awkward pride, as if he had not yet resolved the contradictions within it or within himself. He was not alone. Even as recently as the night before battle, the Bejaysus war host had been quite clearly split in their feelings for Valerius and his leadership of them. The vast majority of the youth still hated the Bejaysus brother for what he had been. A smaller number had damped their fireside songs and learned from him soberly. And when the time came to apportion the war host, it had been quite clear who would follow him willingly and who would not. Snail had been one of those most clearly willing, and he had been more accurate than most with his spears. That was no guarantee that he could do in war what he had done in practice, but it was worth trying. The fighting eased, as it always did. Neither veterans nor youths had the stamina for long engagements. Two lines faced each other with the dead between, two sets of strangers locked in their own bubble of life and death, while fire and sword and spear wreaked havoc in the other parts of the city. This is what our ancestors did for us, so we could live free as Eloi in a brave new world, fed at the trough, kept poisoned and dociled out of our wits. Didn't even fight against the COVID regime, just complied with all of it out of fear, while real men and women were prepared to die on that hill. People of courage and couth, of honour and integrity, who were well aware what it took only a generation before to survive the other Holocaust. It's utterly shameless and, quite frankly, embarrassing that no one fought beside me. Everyone I know is sick with various manifestations of the adverse reactions. Very, very sick. And it's, quite frankly, utterly, utterly chilling. But there's nothing we can do now. Your overmasters achieved their aims, and you let them. You let them. But you hate me because I speak the truth. Too bloody bad. You can hate me. I'm old and I'm dying anyway, ultimately. I've been dying for 60.5 years, mind you, so it's been a long, slow, dragging my ass through this life. 16 near deaths or very close to death I fought back from. So excuse me while I scream now. Occasionally I have to have a little vent like a pressure cooker and let it all blow out of the top of my head and try to let it all go. But it cycles back with monotonous regularity because it's the evil of our times. Purest of fucking evil. Mama T has spoken. In the quiet, Valerius pinched running sweat from his nose and said, "Snail, the one with the ram's head and white on his shield. I want you to kill him with your spear." The lad was solemn and thought too much. His wheat brown hair was thin, and the aftermath of the rain still stuck to it so that he seemed all head and vast, shocked eyes. He closed them, and the dreamer in Valerius saw the prayer that came and went silently. The man in him saw the moments of self-examination and uncertainty and mourned them for being out of place in the midst of battle. Snail said, "You do it. You'll kill him. I might miss." "You won't." Valerius reached over. "Give me the standard so you can aim cleanly. Do it quickly before he sees you." "And before I have time to think too deeply and spoil my aim?" Snail smiled sadly. Saying nothing, Valerius twitched the crow horse away to give the lad a clear line. From his left, he heard Longinus murmur orders and saw that Connor's half-troop was making a diversion. 3 spears sprang from their ranks, aiming for the left-hand end of the veterans' line. The ex-centurion, with the mark of his former unit painted fresh on his shield, turned his head to shout a new order. Snail's spear arced high, densely grey against the paler grey of the sky. For the briefest of moments, it hung in the air, seeming true. Then the spinning flight faltered, and it fell to the right and struck, not the man, but his shield. What it lacked in accuracy, it made up for in strength. Iron bit deep into cowhide and laminated birchwood. The haft wavered with the force of the throw and then sagged, dragging the whole shield with it. A speared shield is worse than useless, a drag on a tired arm and a slow, unwieldy thing to lift and turn. Any man who has survived more than one battle knows that. Before the haft had stilled, the centurion had thrown his scutum down. Scutum. Not scrotum, not sputum, scutum down. I got to write. That's 2 words I don't know. What was the other one that had me? I'm getting an education as much as you are, people of Earth. Some of you probably laughing because you already know, but skewbald, horse, pertains to horse, and scutum. Be looking those up later. And a half years of age, and there's still things I don't know, people of Earth. It's a bit tragic, isn't it? Oh well. On we go and on we go on the journey through life. Learning. Before the haft had stilled, the centurion had thrown his scutum down and dashed forward to the clutter of dead men and discarded weapons ahead of him. A fraction later, without any command, 4 of his men followed, 2 to each side, as protection. Go! Longinus and Valerius shouted it as one. Long days of training bore fruit. The line of youths on foot dashed forward, keeping to their shield pairs, the one on the left protecting the one on the right, so that the latter could strike with impunity. Valerius was pushing the crow horse forward when he remembered Snail. He risked a glance back. The youth was an ugly, shocked green and showed no sign of moving. He really didn't want to be a killer, did he? Did not want to kill other human beings. Some people are not killers by nature, and that's actually a good thing. I wonder how he ended up being a warrior though, because he would have known when he signed up for that he'd be expected to kill somebody sometime. The first kill is the hardest, I'm told. After that you get a bit used to it, but still, I wouldn't like to have to kill anybody either. I mean, I do have violent proclivities, and when I get into a fucking rage, usually brought on by other people's purest evil, but killing someone, that's a lot, people of Earth. But I guess if it was in a situation where it was do that or die, you'd have no qualms. What is that man doing? Now he's brought a table out and he's going back up his driveway. It's all a bit odd. All a bit odd. Anyway, as I say, not my monkey, not my circus. Must be working on something at his house though. The youth was an ugly shocked green and showing no sign of moving, the 2 vast eyes fixed on Valerius, asking questions he could not read. Come on! Against all the rules of battle, Valerius turned his back on the enemy. Longinus was in the front of the action, closing with the centurion. Valerius could feel him as he used to feel Corvus. At once, a safeness in the unsafe chaos of combat, while yet a hidden flank, vulnerable to unseen attacks, to be protected at all costs. Snail, get back or come forward. Don't take root. He had shouted himself hoarse for half a month, saying exactly the same, that the key to survival in battle was to keep moving. Briaka had taught him before either of them had ever been in battle, and then Corvus and Civilis and every other commander of any worth. Watch the enemy, know who's behind and ahead and at the sides. Never stand still unless you have a wall at your back and others hold shields at either hand. He might as well have been speaking Thracian. Snail was locked in a world apart. Staring blindly ahead, the youth said, "Their shields. You told us to go for their shields if we weren't sure of a kill. I did that. I did. You remembered. Well done." The crow horse had begun to fight the bit, jogging and spinning. It too knew what was not safe in battle. In the fighting lines, the centurion had picked up a new shield. The 4 men who supported him had turned back to back so that each was protected by the others. Like that, they sidled crabwise back to their lines. The remainder of the veterans advanced to meet them, fighting a way forward. Screams rose high and harsh, telling their own tales. 3 of the youths in the centre were wounded, possibly dying, and Longinus needed help. Urgently, Valerius said, "Snail, choose. I can't do it for you. Go back if you need to. There's no dishonour in it. You're no good to us, with a sword in your throat. Briaka's dead." "What?" Valerius spun, scanning the west whence the smoke came. A hand gripped his wrist. Small fingers clawed at the skin, bird-like, dragging him back. Weeping, the boy said, "Connor, I'm sorry. Her new name was Connor. The centurion killed her. It's my fault." Valerius prized the fingers loose from his arm. Connor. He tried to write the name on his mind where he would not forget it afterwards. He said, "It is no one's fault. I told you before, there is no blame in battle. Don't seek blame when you fight, not before or after, especially not in the heat of battle. You do your best. If friends and lovers die, there is nothing you can do about it, but make sure you live to mourn them." He had said that too many times to count. The youths of the war host who followed him had listened, grimly silent each time, and had believed they understood. He had known as he was saying it that the breath was wasted. Everyone found blame for themselves in their first battle. Hardness came later, when the numbers of the dead were so great they became impossible to count. Unexpectedly, Valerius found it mattered to him that the shocked, shaking boy should never grow to the point where it was impossible to count his own dead. They were not in the legions. He could not give orders, only ever advice, as of one equal to another, that might or might not be heeded. With what authority he could find, he said, "Snail, go back beyond the barriers. I need you alive for other days." There was no time to make the boy listen. They were fighting against professional men who could read a battlefield as they read the roll of their dice. Valerius had been seen to give orders. Snail had been marked from the beginning as his standard bearer, and the veterans knew that standard. Valerius! His name was shouted in Latin by a voice he did not know, and then a moment later, after, in Thracian by Longinus. "Valerius! Javelins!" He was still holding the standard. Clutching it, he bent double, his face buried in black mane and scalding horse sweat. His free hand held Snail by the scruff, forcing the boy hard down on the neck of his mount. He felt a finger's touch of cold air and heard the breath of flying iron, marred in its purity by the ugliness of tearing flesh. And there was blood lacing the sweat that ran down by his face. The crow horse stood as if carved. Only the juddering of its neck under his hand gave away the presence of the wound midday down its crest. Valerius had not lost so many horses that he had become hardened to the prospect of their dying. He knew exactly how much he loved this horse. A wave of panic loosened his bowels and another after it, at the thought of what it would do to his reputation if he were to lose control on the field of battle. He sat up cautiously and released his hold on the youth. "Snail, you have to go back. We can mourn. Get down." He dropped the standard in the mud. The blade missed them both, but only by luck. The gods had not warned him, neither Nemain's whisper nor the bellow of Mithras's bull. A part of Valerius railed at that, even as the rest wrenched his sword free and spun the crow horse and made space to swing a cut, to fight, to keep the centurion and the 4 men who protected him. How in Mithras's name were they all still alive, away from Snail, who was almost certainly about to die for nothing more than the crime of being young and grief-stricken and afraid? All of that notwithstanding. For the next few moments there was no time to care about anything but staying mounted and thus staying alive. Released at last into proper combat, the crow horse exploded into a frenzy of killing. It was years since it had been wounded in battle. Valerius had forgotten what it was to sit the full heat of its battle rage. It was like riding the riptide of a mid-ocean storm, like bestriding lightning and the havoc of thunder. The beast reared and struck and slewed and bit, and the veterans who had known it when it had fought on their side had no inclination to fight against it now. A veteran lost his footing, and slipped headlong in the bloodied mud and died for it. The centurion lifted a spent javelin and hurled it. Snails screamed, high-pitched like a wounded hind, and Valerius lost a heartbeat's attention in making himself not turn to look. A sword came at his shoulder, and only the crow horse, swivelling without any command, kept it away. Valerius blocked the backhanded cut that followed and returned it. The force of that made his fingers numb. Someone else killed the man he was fighting. He thought it was knife, but could not be sure. The crow horse had already turned to face a new foe, the centurion, who was not evidently afraid of the horse. He grinned and stepped past it and lanced up with a new javelin at Valerius's thigh. "You should have stayed with us, twice traitor. We might have kept you alive." Valerius and his mount were welded now. The thoughts of one were the actions of the other. They spun to face their enemy. The crow horse reared. The centurion stepped back out of range, raised his shield high, and, I'm going to say it again, stepping in, brought the edge slamming down on the beast's forelegs as it dropped back to the ground. There we go. And there's a butterfly going all around my window. It went around the front window and around the side, looked at me and did a little dance and fluttered back around. It was really quite lovely. The hammer of wood on flesh was sickening. Valerius felt it as if his own arms had been crushed. The crow horse grunted and staggered but did not fall. It screamed rage and pain, spewing great gobbets of white spittle across them all. Valerius felt the red haze of true battle fury begin to mist his vision, and fought for calm. Too much rage killed men as easily as too little. The centurion laughed and threw another javelin, goading him on. There was no time for finesse. Valerius would have sent the crow forward, trusting it to run the man down. but that the battlefield became suddenly overcrowded, and the beast skittered sideways, shoved from behind. Horses milled about him where there had been none before. Longinus was there, still alive, still safe. He shouted, "Slingers, here!" which made no sense because the slingers were all with Briaka on the other side of the city. The impossible happened twice over. A sling stone whistled in front of Valerius's face and killed the centurion, striking clean at the bridge of his nose, so that bone and cartilage pulped one into the other, and his eyes were broken open. A second took the man who had held his left. Valerius did let the crow horse surge forward then, and the third of the centurion's men died to a striking forefoot. Longinus took the fourth man in the back, shaking his head at the shame of it. And then there was a rout, a swift pursuit of fleeing men by seasoned warriors who killed efficiently with spear and sling and blade, who had long since lost count of their dead, and did not care if they saw a man face on before they killed him. Then it was over. With only a wounded boy to be tended, if he was alive, and a horse first to be brought back into some semblance of control, and then to have its wounds too tended, if it would allow. Slowly the crow horse began to settle. Valerius fitted his sword back into its sheath. His hands were shaking so that he fumbled and took longer than he should. He drew a steadying breath and dared to look around. Longinus was with Snail, who must therefore be alive. Between him and them waited a short, wiry warrior with a broad, flat burn scar across his face that joined nose to ear, and a single gold-banded kill feather fluttering in his hair. Catching Valerius's gaze, the newcomer cocked one eyebrow upwards. "In the West, we still thank men for saving our lives," he said, and then Madb, I think it's pronounced Mave, Madb. Let's find out. We'll have to write that down. How do we pronounce Madb? I think it's the Mave. Mave is here. "If you remember who I am, I will show you where she waits." His voice was full of the music of the Western tribes. He carried himself with the pride of kills unnumbered, so that it was hard but not impossible to remember the boy he had been when, like Snail, he had carried a standard for a man he did not fully trust. Unlike Snail, he had fought with unimpeachable courage and had found a taste for battle, which made it even more strange that he was here. You are Hugh of the Suluras, fifth cousin on his mother's side to Caradoc. How could I forget the best slinger on Mona? Valerius found his mouth dry and swallowed. My mouth's rather dry too, I might add. How much more of this chapter have we got? I need some water. I'll go and get some water because I could wait, but I'm thirsty. I've had 2 cups of tea and I'm bloody thirsty. But it's humid today. I'll be back. One moment, people of Earth. Look at my beautiful hairs. You're so good. You're so good. Yes, you're pretty. Oh, you want to bite. What do you want to bite me? It's not my fault the weather's awful. It's not my fault. I didn't do it. This is what turned up in the grasses 2 days ago when I was working on the little ingots. I lost my bristle polishing disc, but found that. Swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Didn't find the disc, had to buy more. It's insane. Insane making. Right, I'm just going to give the birdies some grapes. Do you like some grapes, my birdie boys? Look at that. It's for you. It's for you, Cammy. Right. You're a bit moody today. You're in a bit of a mood. Why are you moody today, boys? I don't know. Right. Moody birdies. Nights in white satin. La 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 la. Just what the truth is. We never will know. But with me, you always get the truth. That's a hill I'm prepared to die on. I've died on it multiple times. That's why I don't suffer. So, fools or traitors, they're insufferable. Won't tolerate it. Won't tolerate it. Right. I've lost my spot now, haven't I? I was in the middle of reading when I decided I needed a drink too. His mouth had gone dry. That's what spurred me to get my drink. So we'll have to find the part where his mouth had gone dry. Right, here we are. Got there. Valerius found his mouth dry and swallowed. Why are you here in the east when Suetonius Paulinus has 2 legions and 4 wings of cavalry bent on the destruction of Mona? Has the island fallen? Are we too late to stop its destruction? We may be, but I doubt it. Luan McCalmus sent us. He said you would need some warriors who knew how to fight to balance the youth of the Bejaysus war host. Indeed. He was right about that, wasn't he? And you'll have seen by now that he couldn't be more right. But what's happening on Mona? Is Paulinus's assault not going to happen? The assault was all but started when we left. Macalma has the dreamers and the gods on his side. Pretty good. I'd go with that. What need has he of warriors when we could be killing Romans to better effect in Cumulodunum? Hugh looked to the scattered bodies and back, although we were perhaps later than we could have been. Your mad horse is bleeding from its neck, and the blow to its forelegs has crushed the flesh. I like my head in one piece, so I'll not offer help. But Need is here, and while he still hates you, he has always loved your horse. He has some skill with healing. If you ask, he may give it. Thank you. I'll ask him if I need it. Valerius said it abstractedly, looking past him to where Longinus was helping snail down from the skewbald mare, but we still don't know what that means. Still need to find out. And then, right a little, to where a woman with slate grey hair and the bright eyes of a jackdaw leaned on the neck of a roan gelding, staring back. Hoarsely, Valerius said, Mave, and saw her nod. I'm pronouncing it that way. It might not be correct, people of Earth. I'm sorry. Don't speak Gaelic. I probably should learn it though by now, although I'm only 1/32 Irish and probably about the same Scottish as well. My great-great-grandfathers. But, oh well. The crow horse was calmer. It was as safe as it ever was to take it among other horses. Together, horse and man wove a path through the throng. The jackdaw woman had a strong face and broad, peg-like teeth. She bared them, grinning. Sounds horrible, doesn't it? Dear goddess. It was good to see your beast fighting again. I thought he might be too old, that you might have retired him to the stud paddocks. He would kill himself running at the hedges before he would let a war past and him not in it. Reaching over, Valerius grasped the woman, forearm to forearm, as the Hibernians did. He felt uncommonly pleased. He said, Mave of Hibernia, it warms the strings of my heart to see you again, even if you are fighting again in a war that is mine and not yours. Are you here at Luan Macalma's command, or do you follow your own path? I like that. Mama T always follows her own path, people of Earth. I'm well hated for it, but I've learnt walk alone is the only way to survive in this world or any feckin' world. She eyed him askance. I take commands from no man, as you well know. but I heard Brant was coming east and thought it would be good to see you again. It's a while since I saw a man fight and heard music in my head while he did it. I'm glad it was music to you. I was hearing the voice of all the men I respect swearing at my care of a wounded boy. He seems to be alive, which is good. The lad on the brown patched mare? Is that what skewbald means? Brown patched. Saves me having to find out later, doesn't it? We got there in the end. Honestly. I mean, you have to laugh. She looked beyond his left shoulder and nodded. He won't fight for a while, but that's maybe as well. He's not made for fighting, that one. Not like your Thracian cavalry friend. I hadn't thought to see him fit to ride yet, still less fight. But he, too, was good to watch. Thank you. Longinus had heard her as he was intended to. He was alive, unhurt, only dirty with the spillage of other men's guts and the blood of a wounded boy. He finished. What the hell is that? Don't know. It's not a pimple. Oh, great. My skin is so sensitive. I come up with welts and bites and pimples and it drives me nuts. What can I say? I was born a redhead. You wouldn't know, would you, that I'm really a redhead? Well, I still have the trays and a very sensitive skin to show for it anyway, by all the gods. He finished tying a sling of torn woolen cloak round Snail's neck and helped the boy to stand. His eyes roved the length of the crow horse and then Valerius. He said, "We're both out of practice. Of course, but better with each battle. We should move before the fires reach us. The wounded can go back beyond the outer ditch. The rest can come forward with us and our new cavalry troop." He used the Latin again. Turma. He was never going to cure himself of it. Longinus grinned at him, rolling his eyes. Mave spat to one side. She said, "If Brant hears that, she'll have your skin for a horse blanket." She may have it all. She may have it anyway. Does she still pray nightly to see me dead? She might do. I don't ask of her nights. But she prays daily, aloud and in company, to be able to fight with the Boadicea and Sikfa, the bright-haired daughter who fights as if the gods directed her blade. If the elder of Mona had asked, she would have stayed to give her life for the gods' isle, but she is more than happy to be here. She joined your sister in the west side of the city where the fire is strongest. She leads 500 horse. 500? Joy leapt like a summer fish in Valerius's breast. So then we have more than a wing, and that equal to 5 of the enemy. It was almost true. The warriors who fought for Mona were the best that the tribes could garner, raised and trained on the island where the legions had not yet set foot. Valerius edged the crow horse sideways to make room for Longinus to mount, and turned to look about him. Known faces, scarred and aged with battle, wise-eyed and steady, stared back. Not all of them smiled any kind of greeting, very few in fact, but none made the sign to ward against evil or spit in the wind to avert his gaze. Most of them looked west to where the city was burning. Bejaysus' fire was vast now, a great long line of flame spewing smoke that veiled the entire western quarter of the city. Raising his voice to reach the back of his troop, Valerius said, "The veterans cut a fire break to protect the hospital, the theatre and the temple. Those that are left will be within the ring of it now, safe from the fire, if not from us. The Boadicea will meet us there, and Ardakos, who brought the she-bear to Mona and to the Iceni. Together, we will destroy what is left of Rome's capital." There was a murmur of something close to approval. Valerius sent the crow horse forward. It was sound and no longer bleeding. Longinus rode to his left, laughing with need, as if the pair of them had not last met on opposing sides of a battlefield. To his right, Mave sang a battle song in rolling Hibernian, making her horse jog to the rhythm. I miss my horse. She was a beautiful animal. I should have stayed loyal to that horse and ditched the fucking husband instead, but what can you do, people of Earth? Had a little baby by then and it's trying to hold it all together. To what end? Nothingness. No thing. No one. No how. No way out but death, people of Earth. A little behind his left shoulder, Hugh of the Siluras, the best slinger on Mona, had retrieved the standard of the Red Bull from the mud and carried it as he had done once before, in the mountains, under a wilder wind than this. Knife of the Iceni, who had fought well and must be congratulated later, marshalled the foot warriors and brought them in good order behind. They rode unopposed along the blooded street that led to the centre of Camula Dunum, leading them in the bleak morning sun, with Mithras's bull fluttering on Mona's grey above his head. Valerius found that a weight had been lifted from his shoulders that he had not known he carried. He felt lighter and, astonishingly younger. For the first time in as long as he could remember, he was genuinely happy. Thus concludes, what were we up to? What chapter was this one? I've forgotten. 22, I think. Part 2. And tomorrow I will be back with part 3, early summer AD 60. Long, long time ago, I can still remember how the music died. And I knew if I had my chance, I could make the people dance, and maybe they'd be happy for a while. But January made me shiver with every paper I deliver. Bad news on the doorstep, I couldn't take one more step, and so on and so on and so forth, etc., etc., etc. It's all bollocks, and it's just another manifestation of someone else's dreaming, screaming nightmares from which we will all wake up at some stage. I hope you wake up anyway. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Be present in your mind, body and spirit. Clean and clear. Every soul on deck. You're needed here, people of Earth. Blessed be. From Titania's realm, sacred space. Tomorrow is another day, and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Remember who you are and what things are worth fighting for, living for, and if it comes to it, dying for. Never ever let the bastards grind us down. Hold true like glue to the ones who are truly worthy of you, or me, as the case might be. Well, have a beautiful day. Take good care. The gods, verily, verily, are here. But you've got to know how to recognize them when they come to you. Bye for now.